They were legends, actors, musicians, and cultural icons who shaped the world with their talent. But at the height of their fame, a silent epidemic changed everything. In the 1980s and 90s, AIDS tore through Hollywood, taking beloved stars far too soon, all while stigma and fear kept the truth in the shadows. Their stories are heartbreaking, their impact undeniable, and their memory continues to inspire. Let's take a look back at the stars we lost and the mark they left on the world. Liberace wasn't just a pianist, he was a spectacle. He transformed classical music into pure entertainment, dazzling audiences with rhinestone-covered costumes, extravagant performances, and his signature candelabra-lit piano. His showmanship made him a household name, earning him the title Mr. Showmanship and a devoted fan base that adored his over-the-top glamour. Despite his flamboyant persona, Liberace fiercely denied being gay throughout his life. When tabloids hinted at his sexuality, he took legal action, most famously suing the Daily Mirror in 1956 for implying he was homosexual, winning the case after testifying under oath that he was not. But behind closed doors, his personal life told another story. He lived for years with Scott Thorson, his chauffeur and alleged lover, until their relationship ended in a public legal battle, with Thorson suing for palimony in 1982. As the AIDS crisis took hold in the 1980s, Liberace's health declined dramatically. He grew frail, but insisted he was simply on a watermelon diet. His final performance at Radio City Music Hall in November 1986 marked the end of an era. On February 4, 1987, he passed away at his Palm Springs home. While his doctor initially attributed his death to heart failure, an autopsy later confirmed the truth. Liberace had died of pneumonia brought on by AIDS. Even in death, his legacy remains larger than life, a testament to the magic he brought to the stage and the secrets he took with him. Pedro Zamora wasn't just a reality TV personality, he was a trailblazer. He immigrated to the U.S. with his family at age 8, settling in Miami. From a young age, Zamora was open about his sexuality and found strong support in his Cuban-American community. But at just 17, his life changed forever when he was diagnosed with HIV. Instead of retreating, he turned his diagnosis into a mission, educating young people about HIV, AIDS, safe sex, and breaking the stigma surrounding the disease. In 1994, Zamora reached a new level of visibility when he joined The Real World San Francisco, becoming one of the first openly gay men living with HIV to be featured on mainstream television. His presence on the show brought discussions about LGBTQ+ issues and HIV, AIDS, into homes across America. One of the season's most memorable moments was his commitment ceremony with partner Sean Sasser, a groundbreaking depiction of same-sex love at a time when such representation was rare. Tragically, Zamora's health declined rapidly during filming, and just hours after the final episode aired, he passed away on November 11, 1994, at only 22 years old. His impact, however, was undeniable. Even President Bill Clinton recognized his contributions, stating that Zamora had taught all of us that AIDS is a disease with a human face. His legacy continues through the Pedro Zamora Foundation, ensuring that his work lives on, inspiring new generations to educate, advocate, and fight stigma. Steve Rubell wasn't just a nightclub owner. He was the architect of an era. His path to nightlife royalty was anything but predictable. After stints in the National Guard and restaurant management, he partnered with college friend Ian Schrager to create Studio 54, the most famous nightclub in the world. Opening its doors on April 26, 1977, Studio 54 became the epicenter of disco-fueled excess, where celebrities, artists, and everyday people danced under a starlit ceiling. Rubell's infamous door policy, where the key to a good party is filling a room with guests more interesting than you, made the club the ultimate hotspot. On any given night, Andy Warhol might be sipping champagne next to Liza Minnelli, while Mick Jagger danced alongside a plumber from Queens. But the party couldn't last forever. In 1978, the IRS raided Studio 54, leading to Rubell and Schrager's conviction for tax evasion. After serving time, the duo pivoted to the boutique hotel business, revolutionizing the industry. In 1985, Rubell was diagnosed with HIV, a fact he kept private. As the illness progressed, he continued working and socializing until his passing on July 25, 1989, at just 45 years old. Though Studio 54's doors eventually closed, its legend and Rubell's legacy continues to define the golden age of nightlife. Anthony Perkins was more than just Psycho's Norman Bates. He was a complex, deeply private man whose life mirrored the troubled characters he often played. The son of stage and film actor Osgood Perkins, he seemed destined for Hollywood. His career took off quickly, earning an Oscar nomination for Friendly Persuasion and even landing a Billboard charting hit with Moonlight Swim. But it was Psycho that changed everything, making him a star while also trapping him in the shadow of Norman Bates for the rest of his career. Off-screen, Perkins struggled with his sexuality in a time when being openly gay could end a career. He had a discreet romance with actor Tab Hunter in the 1950s, but like many Hollywood stars of the era, he was forced to play along with staged double dates to keep up appearances. In the 1970s, he underwent therapy in an attempt to change his attraction to men, and in 1973 he married photographer Barry Berenson, with whom he had 2 sons. Though their marriage was reportedly happy, friends suggested he never fully reconciled his identity. In the late 1980s, Perkins was diagnosed with HIV, a fact he learned not from his doctor, but from a National Enquirer article. He kept his illness private, continuing to work until his final days. On September 12, 1992, he passed away from AIDS-related pneumonia at 60. Steven Stucker had a rare gift. He could make you laugh before he even opened his mouth. He found his calling in comedy early on, bringing an infectious, manic energy to every performance. Though he appeared in several films and stage productions, he became best known for his unforgettable role as Johnny, the wisecracking air traffic controller in Airplane. With his outrageous one-liners and unpredictable delivery, he stole every scene he was in, solidifying his place in cult comedy history. Stucker's road to stardom wasn't conventional. He honed his craft in San Francisco's theater scene before catching the attention of the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrahams, the masterminds behind Airplane. His fearless comedic style made him a fan favorite, but behind the humor he faced struggles of his own. In 1984, he received life-altering news. He had tested positive for HIV. At a time when the disease was surrounded by stigma and fear, Stucker made the bold decision to go public with his diagnosis, becoming one of the first actors to openly discuss his HIV status. His honesty helped put a recognizable face on a misunderstood crisis, much like Pedro Zamora would do years later. Sadly, his battle with AIDS was short. On April 13, 1986, he passed away at just 38 years old. Though his life was cut tragically short, his fearless humor and groundbreaking openness left a lasting impact, not just in comedy, but in the broader conversation about HIV/AIDS awareness. Rudolf Nureyev wasn't just a dancer, he was a revolution. Born on a trans-Siberian train in 1938, his journey from Soviet poverty to international superstardom was as dramatic as his performances. Raised in hardship, his passion for dance led him to the Vaganova Academy in Leningrad, where his raw talent quickly set him apart. But it was his bold defection to the West in 1961 that made headlines worldwide. At the height of the Cold War, while touring with the Kirov Ballet in Paris, Nureyev made the life-changing decision to seek asylum. Once in the West, his career soared. His legendary partnership with Dame Margot Fonteyn redefined ballet, with performances in Romeo and Juliet and Swan Lake becoming instant classics. Yet Nureyev wasn't just a performer, he was a game-changer, challenging traditional gender roles and demanding stronger, more dynamic parts for male dancers. Though he kept his private life discreet in his early years, he later embraced his identity openly. In 1983, he became director of the Paris Opera Ballet, continuing to innovate and inspire despite declining health. Even as illness took its toll, he refused to slow down, choreographing and conducting until the very end. On January 6, 1993, at just 54, Nureyev passed away due to AIDS-related complications, leaving behind a legacy that forever changed the world of ballet. Rock Hudson was the epitome of the Hollywood leading man, handsome, charismatic, and effortlessly charming. He rose to fame in the 1950s with films like Magnificent Obsession and Giant, earning an Academy Award nomination. With his towering presence and all-American appeal, he became one of the biggest movie stars of his time. But behind the scenes, Hudson was living a double life, forced to hide his true self in an era when being openly gay could end a career. His 1955 marriage to Phyllis Gates was later revealed to be a publicity move to silence rumors, while within Hollywood circles, his sexuality was an open secret. By the 1980s, Hudson had successfully transitioned to television, starring in McMillan and Wife and later appearing on Dynasty. But in 1984, his health began to decline, and he was diagnosed with AIDS, a disease still heavily stigmatized at the time. Initially, he kept his condition private, but when his visibly frail appearance at a Dynasty press event fueled speculation, he made history. On July 25, 1985, Hudson publicly confirmed he had AIDS, becoming the first major celebrity to do so. His announcement shattered misconceptions and put a recognizable face to the epidemic, sparking a wave of awareness. Hudson passed away on October 2, 1985, at age 59, but his impact endured far beyond his death. His revelation transformed public perception of AIDS, forcing the entertainment industry and the world to take the crisis seriously. Howard Ashman wasn't just a lyricist. He was a storytelling genius who helped shape some of Disney's most iconic films. His love for musical theater started young, crafting and directing shows even as a child. Before Disney, he made his mark on Broadway, co-writing Little Shop of Horrors with composer Alan Menken, a partnership that would go on to define an era of animation. In 1986, Disney brought Ashman and Menken on board for The Little Mermaid, a film that revitalized Disney animation. With unforgettable songs like Under the Sea and Part of Your World, Ashman infused Broadway magic into animation, earning his first Academy Award. He followed up with Beauty and the Beast, but during production, he was diagnosed with AIDS. Despite his failing health, he continued working, embedding deeper meanings into his lyrics, like the Mob song, which reflected society's fear of what it doesn't understand. Ashman's final project was Aladdin, contributing lyrics to Arabian Nights and Friend Like Me before passing away on March 14, 1991, at just 40 years old. His loss was deeply felt, but his legacy lived on. Paul Shenar was the kind of actor who could command attention with just a glance. He built a reputation as a versatile performer, seamlessly shifting between stage, film, and television. Whether playing the ruthless Alejandro Sosa in Scarface or appearing in classic TV series like The Wild Wild West, his deep voice and intense presence made every role unforgettable. Shenar's journey began in the theater. As a founding member of the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, he honed his craft, gaining admiration for his powerful stage performances. His transition to Hollywood was effortless, with his charisma and commanding delivery making him a go-to for both heroes and villains. Yet, despite his on-screen prominence, Shenar remained deeply private about his personal life. Rumors swirled about a 5-year relationship with actor Jeremy Brett, known for portraying Sherlock Holmes, though in an era when being openly gay could end a career, such relationships were often kept under wraps. In 1989, Shenar's life was tragically cut short when he passed away from AIDS-related complications at just 53 years old. Though gone too soon, his legacy lives on through the unforgettable characters he brought to life, proving that true talent never fades. Joel Crothers was a familiar face to daytime television fans, captivating audiences for over 2 decades with his commanding presence and effortless charm. He stepped into the spotlight early, making his Broadway debut at just 14 years old. But it was the world of soap operas where he truly found his niche, starring in long-running series like The Edge of Night, Dark Shadows, and Somerset. Whether playing a romantic lead or a cunning antagonist, Crothers had the rare ability to bring depth and complexity to every role. Off-screen, Crothers lived a quiet duality. While openly gay among his inner circle, he never publicly discussed his sexuality, common for actors of his time. In a surprising twist, he became engaged to actress Valerie Gray, his on-screen love interest in Somerset. Whether their engagement was genuine or a way to deflect speculation remains a mystery. Tragically, Crothers' life was cut short in 1985 when he passed away from AIDS-related lymphoma at just 44 years old. Though gone too soon, his legacy endures through the characters he brought to life, proof that his talent, like the best soap opera storylines, will never fade from memory. Denholm Elliott was the kind of actor whose name might not ring a bell, but his face was unforgettable. He graced over 125 films and television shows, quietly stealing scenes from Hollywood's biggest stars. Whether playing the delightfully absent-minded Marcus Brody in Indiana Jones, the sly Butler Coleman in Trading Places, or the endearing Mr. Emerson in A Room with a View, Elliott had a rare ability to elevate every role with his impeccable timing, subtle wit, and effortless charm. His path to acting wasn't a straight shot. Before Hollywood, Elliott served in the Royal Air Force during World War II, enduring 3 years as a prisoner of war. After the war, he discovered his true calling on stage and screen, quickly becoming one of Britain's most beloved character actors. Behind the camera, he lived a private life, marrying twice and raising 2 children, while also navigating a world that wasn't always accepting of his bisexuality. In 1987, Elliott was diagnosed with HIV, but he continued working, refusing to let his illness define his final years. He delivered memorable performances in Noble House, Toy Soldiers, and his last on-screen role in Noises Off. On October 6, 1992, at age 70, he passed away at his home in Ibiza due to AIDS-related tuberculosis. The British film community mourned the loss of a true legend, and in recognition of his contributions, BAFTA later established the Denholm Elliott Award, ensuring that his legacy lives on. Robert Reed was best known as Mike Brady, the wise and loving father on the Brady Bunch, but his real life was far more complex than the picture-perfect sitcom family he led on screen. His path to fame was filled with challenges, both personal and professional. Reed's acting career began on the stage before he found success in Hollywood, eventually landing the role that made him a household name. While he became America's favorite TV dad, he privately struggled with his identity. In 1954, he married Marilyn Rosenberger, and they had a daughter, Karyn, but the marriage ended after 5 years. During this time, Reed confided in his wife about his sexuality, but in an era when Hollywood was not accepting of LGBTQ+ actors, he kept it hidden, fearing it would destroy his career. Behind the scenes, Reed was known as a perfectionist, often clashing with the Brady Bunch producers over scripts, but despite the conflicts, he was deeply committed to his castmates, taking his on-screen children on cultural outings and mentoring them off-set. In 1991, Reed was diagnosed with colon cancer, but medical records later revealed he was also HIV positive, a fact that only became public after his passing on May 12, 1992, at age 59. Though his official cause of death was colon cancer, HIV-related complications were believed to have played a role. His death sparked conversations about the stigma surrounding LGBTQ+ actors in Hollywood, particularly in a time when many felt forced to live in secrecy. Ed Koch was as New York as they come. Brash, opinionated, and always ready with his trademark phrase, "How am I doing?" As mayor from 1978 to 1989, he led the city through some of its most challenging years, winning both fierce loyalty and sharp criticism. Koch's path to politics was as colorful as the city he would later govern. After serving in World War II and working as a lawyer, he became a U.S. congressman before winning the 1977 mayoral race. Taking office during a financial crisis, rising crime, and urban decay, he was credited with stabilizing New York's economy and leading a major revival. But one crisis would define much of his legacy: the AIDS epidemic. As the disease devastated New York's gay community in the 1980s, activists accused Koch of an inadequate response, with playwright and activist Larry Kramer even calling him an evil man who helped gay men die. The criticism was compounded by persistent rumors about Koch's own sexuality, rumors he never addressed publicly, insisting his private life was just that, private. After his death in 2013, journalist Charles Kaiser confirmed that Koch was gay, explaining that he came from a generation that didn't discuss such matters openly. Despite the controversy, Koch took steps toward LGBTQ+ rights, banning discrimination in city employment and advocating for anti-discrimination laws in Congress. When he passed away at 88, he left behind a legacy as complex as the city he loved, one still debated by New Yorkers today. Freddie Mercury wasn't just a rock star, he was a force of nature. As the electrifying frontman of Queen, he commanded the stage with unmatched charisma, a 4-octave vocal range, and a larger-than-life persona that captivated audiences worldwide. Born Farrokh Bulsara in Zanzibar, Mercury's journey to fame was as extraordinary as his music, transforming him into one of the most iconic performers in history. While Mercury kept much of his personal life private, those closest to him knew about his relationships, including his deep bond with Mary Austin, whom he called his soulmate, and later Jim Hutton, who stood by him until the end. In 1987, Mercury was diagnosed with HIV, but he chose to keep it a secret, continuing to create music at an unstoppable pace. Even as his health declined, he poured his heart into Innuendo, the last Queen album released in his lifetime. His final on-screen appearance in These Are the Days of Our Lives showed a visibly frail but still magnetic presence, a farewell without words. On November 23, 1991, Mercury publicly confirmed his AIDS diagnosis. Just a day later, he passed away at age 45, leaving the world in shock. His death was a devastating loss, but his music and his legacy live on. The Mercury Phoenix Trust, established in his memory, continues to fight AIDS worldwide, ensuring that his impact extends far beyond the stage. Wade Dominguez was on the verge of Hollywood stardom when fate took a different course. His striking looks, a blend of Mexican and French heritage, set him apart. Before stepping into the limelight, he made his way as a go-go dancer in nightclubs, a far cry from Hollywood, but a start that allowed him to showcase his love for performance. His big break came in 1995 with Dangerous Minds, where he played Emilio Ramirez, a troubled student whose tough exterior is softened by Michelle Pfeiffer's character. His raw and emotional performance made an impact, proving he had the talent to hold his own among Hollywood's biggest names. He followed up with roles in City of Industry, The Taxman, and Shadow of Doubt, each showcasing his versatility and potential for an even bigger career. But behind the scenes, Dominguez was fighting a private battle. Diagnosed with AIDS, he chose to keep his condition out of the public eye, wanting to be remembered for his talent rather than his illness. On August 26, 1998, at just 32 years old, he passed away due to respiratory failure. In his final days, friend and co-star Elizabeth Berkley visited him in the hospital, showing him an early cut of The Taxman. Moved by his own performance, Dominguez reportedly broke down in tears, saying, "I'm so good, I'm so good." It was a bittersweet moment, proof of a talent gone too soon but never forgotten. Willi Smith wasn't just a fashion designer, he was a visionary who changed the industry. He brought a fresh urban perspective to high fashion, blending sportswear with couture in a way that had never been seen before. His brand, Willi Wear, launched in 1976 and revolutionized the industry by making stylish, high-quality clothing affordable to everyday people. His philosophy was simple: I don't design clothes for the queen, but for the people who wave at her as she goes by. By the mid-1980s, Willi Wear was bringing in over $25 million annually, cementing Smith's influence in fashion. He collaborated with artists, dancers, and filmmakers, proving that fashion wasn't just about clothing, it was about culture. His impact even reached pop culture history when he designed Mary Jane Watson's wedding dress in Spider-Man. But just as his career was reaching new heights, tragedy struck. In 1986, Smith lost his business partner to AIDS-related cancer, and months later, his own health began to decline. On April 17, 1987, at just 39 years old, he passed away due to complications associated with AIDS. His company never publicly discussed the specifics of his illness, respecting his wishes. Despite his untimely passing, Smith's legacy continues to live on in modern streetwear, proving that fashion is not just about exclusivity, it's about expression, inclusion, and the people who wear it. Roy Cohn was a man who thrived on power, controversy, and ruthless ambition. Politically connected family, he rose to national prominence at just 23 as chief counsel to Senator Joseph McCarthy during the Red Scare. Aggressive and relentless, Cohn played a key role in prosecuting suspected communists, most notably securing the execution of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. But his influence didn't stop with the McCarthy hearings. He was also a major figure in the Lavender Scare, the systematic purge of LGBTQ+ individuals from government positions, arguing that they were security risks. The irony? Throughout his life, persistent rumors surrounded Cohn's own sexuality, including speculation about his close relationship with David Schein, McCarthy's top aide. Despite the whispers, Cohn vehemently denied being gay and built a career as a high-profile lawyer, representing clients like Donald Trump, Rupert Murdoch, and even mafia bosses. In 1984, Cohn was diagnosed with HIV, a fact he desperately tried to keep secret. Even as his health rapidly declined, he insisted publicly that he had liver cancer. On August 2, 1986, at the age of 59, Cohn passed away. never acknowledging his illness, his sexuality, or the contradictions that defined his life. Decades later, his name remains synonymous with power, paranoia, and one of the most controversial eras in American history. Ondrej Nepela may not be a household name today, but in the world of figure skating, he was once royalty. His journey on the ice began at just 7 years old, when his mother took him skating to help with his asthma. That small decision led to one of the most decorated careers in figure skating history. By 13, Nepela was already competing internationally, representing Czechoslovakia at the 1964 Winter Olympics. Though he didn't medal, his grace and precision set him apart. Over the next decade, he dominated the sport, earning the nickname the Ice Prince. His crowning achievement came at the 1972 Winter Olympics in Sapporo, where he won gold in men's figure skating. He also claimed 3 world championships and 5 European titles before retiring in 1973. Off the ice, Nepela was known for his quiet, private nature. Rumors circulated within the skating world about his relationships with other male skaters, but growing up in the Soviet bloc, where being openly gay was taboo, he kept his personal life discreet. After retiring, he toured professionally before becoming a respected coach in Germany. Tragically, his life was cut short in 1989 at just 38 years old. Diagnosed with cancer of the lymph nodes, speculated by some to be linked to AIDS, he passed away in Mannheim, Germany. His elegance, technical brilliance, and lasting impact on figure skating remain a testament to his incredible talent and dedication to the sport. Brad Davis was the kind of actor who left an impression: intense, daring, and unforgettable. He grew up in a turbulent home marked by his father's alcoholism and his parents' divorce. But despite the hardships, Davis found his escape in acting, moving to New York as a teenager to study at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. His breakout role came in 1978 with Midnight Express, where he delivered a gripping performance as Billy Hayes, an American student imprisoned in Turkey. The role earned him a Golden Globe and launched him into stardom. Davis became known for choosing bold, complex characters, including his portrayal of a sailor exploring his sexuality in Querelle, a film that cemented his status as a gay icon, despite his long marriage to Susan Bluestein and their daughter together. In 1985, Davis was diagnosed with AIDS, a reality he kept hidden for 6 years, fearing the stigma that surrounded the disease. He continued working while undergoing experimental treatments, but as his health deteriorated, he made a controversial choice. On September 8, 1991, at just 41, he ended his passed away, a decision his wife later revealed was made to spare his family from watching his decline. After his passing, Bluestein published After Midnight: The Life and Death of Brad Davis, shedding light on his struggles with addiction, Hollywood pressures, and the fight against an illness that claimed so many. Karyn Kupcinet was a rising star, with roles in popular TV series like The Donna Reed Show, Perry Mason, and Hawaiian Eye. As the daughter of renowned Chicago Sun-Times columnist Irv Kupcinet, her future in Hollywood seemed bright. But on November 28, 1963, just 6 days after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, she was found dead in her West Hollywood apartment, a suspected strangulation, at just 22 years old. Despite a high-profile investigation, her case remains unsolved, leaving behind more questions than answers. Was it a robbery gone wrong, a crime of passion, or something far more sinister? More than 6 decades later, her story remains one of Hollywood's most chilling mysteries. What do you think? Was this a tragic, random crime, or does something bigger lurk beneath the surface? Naya Rivera wasn't just a star, she was a force. Best known for her fierce and unforgettable role as Santana Lopez on Glee, she was a triple threat, an actress, singer, and dancer who lit up the screen. But on July 8, 2020, tragedy struck when she took her 4-year-old son, Josie, out on Lake Piru for a simple afternoon boat ride. Hours later, Josie was found alone, asleep on the pontoon boat. Naya was nowhere to be seen. For 5 agonizing days, search crews combed the waters until, on July 13th, her body was recovered. Authorities believe she used the last of her strength to save her son, hoisting him onto the boat before vanishing beneath the surface. A mother's ultimate sacrifice. Her loss at 33 years old devastated fans worldwide. But beyond the tragedy, her legacy endures. As a performer, a trailblazer for LGBTQ+ representation, and a mother whose final act was pure love. Jim Morrison wasn't just a rock star, he was a myth in the making. As the electrifying frontman of The Doors, he embodied rebellion, poetry, and excess, pushing boundaries both musically and personally. But on July 3, 1971, at just 27 years old, Morrison was found lifeless in a Paris bathtub, his cause of death officially listed as heart failure. No autopsy was performed, as French law at the time didn't require one, a fact that has fueled decades of speculation. Was it an accidental heroin overdose, as some eyewitnesses claim? A cover-up? Or something even stranger? Morrison's history with substance abuse adds weight to the overdose theory, but with no official medical confirmation, the truth remains buried. Just like him in Père Lachaise Cemetery, alongside legends like Oscar Wilde and Edith Piaf. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy only grew. The mystique of the Lizard King, his haunting lyrics, hypnotic stage presence, and defiance of convention continues to inspire generations. And maybe that's the way he wanted it. Heath Ledger wasn't just talented, he was transformative. At just 28 years old, he had already proven himself as one of the most dynamic actors of his generation, but it was his haunting, Oscar-winning performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight that would cement his legend. Yet before the world could fully celebrate his genius, tragedy struck. On January 22, 2008, Ledger was found lifeless in his New York apartment. The cause? An accidental overdose of prescription medications, a chilling mix of painkillers, anti-anxiety drugs, and sleeping aids. His death sent shockwaves through Hollywood, leaving behind not just a grieving industry, but a 2-year-old daughter, Matilda, who would grow up without her father. From the brooding romance of Brokeback Mountain to the effortless charm of 10 Things I Hate About You, Ledger had already shown incredible range. But his Joker, chaotic, chilling, unforgettable, became the gold standard for villainy on screen. His loss wasn't just a tragedy, it was a gut punch to cinema itself. Anna Nicole Smith lived life like a Hollywood screenplay, glamorous, scandalous, and ultimately tragic. From a small-town Texas girl to a Playboy icon and guest model, her rise was meteoric. But behind the blonde bombshell persona was a woman whose life unraveled in ways even the tabloids couldn't script. On February 8, 2007, at just 39 years old, Smith was found unresponsive in a Florida hotel room. The cause, an accidental drug overdose, a grim echo of the loss she had suffered just months earlier when her 20-year-old son, Daniel, died under eerily similar circumstances. The grief, combined with a cocktail of prescription drugs, proved fatal. Her marriage to 89-year-old oil tycoon J. Howard Marshall made headlines, as did the bitter legal battle over his fortune, a fight that outlived both of them. And who could forget the Anna Nicole Show, a reality TV spectacle that offered a raw, chaotic look into her life? But in the end, the glitz couldn't mask the heartbreak. She left behind her infant daughter, Danny Lynn, and a legacy still shrouded in fascination and tragedy. Luke Perry was Dylan McKay, the brooding bad boy of Beverly Hills 90210, who made teenage hearts race in the 90s. But Perry was more than just a teen idol. Over the years, he proved himself as a versatile, respected actor, seamlessly reinventing his career. And just when he had found a new audience through Riverdale, fate took a devastating turn. On March 4th, 2019, Perry passed away at 52 years old, following a massive stroke that left Hollywood and his devoted fans in disbelief. In his final days, he was surrounded by his children, Sophie and Jack, fiancée Wendy Madison Bauer, ex-wife Minnie Sharp, and close family members, a testament to the deep love he inspired off-screen. His role as Fred Andrews in Riverdale introduced him to a whole new generation, proving that Luke Perry's charm and talent were timeless. Whether as a rebellious teen icon or a protective father figure, Perry's impact on television and on his fans will never fade. Philip Seymour Hoffman wasn't just an actor, he was a chameleon. With an uncanny ability to disappear into roles, he gave us performances so raw, so gut-wrenchingly real, that they felt less like acting and more like truth. But behind the brilliance, there was a battle he ultimately couldn't win. On February 2nd, 2014, at 46 years old, Hoffman was found lifeless in his New York City apartment. The cause? An accidental heroin overdose, a stark and tragic reminder of his long struggle with addiction. A syringe in his arm, heroin in his room. It was an ending as heartbreaking as it was shocking. He left behind his partner Mimi O'Donnell and their 3 children, Cooper, Tallulah, and Willa, and a Hollywood industry that felt the depth of his absence immediately. From his Oscar-winning turn in Capote to unforgettable performances in The Master and Doubt, Hoffman brought an intensity few could match. His death wasn't just a loss, it was a void, one that left us wondering what other masterpieces he might have given us. Robin Williams wasn't just a comedian, he was a force of nature. His mind worked at lightning speed, his humor was boundless, and his ability to touch hearts was unmatched. From the alien hilarity of Mork and Mindy to the soulful wisdom of Good Will Hunting, he didn't just perform, he transformed. On August 11, 2014, the world stood still as news broke of his death, at 63. At first, it seemed like the final act of a man who had long struggled with depression and addiction, but the truth was even more heartbreaking. Williams had been unknowingly suffering from Lewy body dementia, a devastating neurological disease that robbed him of clarity, control, and peace. Whether he was inspiring students in Dead Poets Society, warming hearts as Mrs. Doubtfire, or bringing magic to life in Aladdin, Williams made the world laugh, cry, and feel. His passing left a void in Hollywood, but more importantly, it sparked crucial conversations about mental health, hidden struggles, and the importance of reaching out. Tupac Shakur wasn't just a rapper, he was a revolutionary. At just 25 years old, he had already become one of the most influential voices in hip-hop, using his raw, poetic lyrics to speak on racial injustice, street struggles, and the realities of America's inner cities. But on September 7, 1996, in Las Vegas, his story took a violent turn. 6 days later, on September 13th, he succumbed to his injuries, becoming another casualty of the East Coast-West Coast hip-hop war, a conflict that, to this day, leaves more questions than answers. To this day, no arrests have been made. Who killed Tupac? A rival gang? A hit ordered by enemies? A deeper conspiracy? The mystery surrounding his murder has fueled decades of speculation, with some even believing he faked his death and is still alive. But one thing is undeniable: Tupac's influence never faded. From his timeless tracks like California Love and Dear Mama to his powerful performances in Juice and Poetic Justice, his impact transcends music. Glenn Quinn had that rare on-screen magic, charming, charismatic, and effortlessly versatile. Born in Ireland, he made his mark on American television in the 1990s, winning hearts as Mark Healey on Roseanne, where his easygoing humor and bad boy charm made him an unforgettable fan favorite. But it was his role as Alan Francis Doyle on Angel that truly showcased his depth as an actor, blending wit, warmth, and a tragic complexity that made his character stand out. But behind the scenes, Quinn battled personal demons. Despite his success, he struggled with substance abuse, a fight that ultimately claimed his life on December 3, 2002, at just 32 years old. His passing was a heartbreaking reminder of the pressures actors face, especially those who rise quickly in an industry that offers both opportunity and temptation in equal measure. His absence is still felt by fans and co-stars alike, especially in the Angel fandom, where Doyle's sacrifice and heroism remain one of the show's most powerful storylines. Anton Yelchin was a rare talent, charming, intelligent, and endlessly versatile. Whether he was playing the lovable Pavel Chekhov in Star Trek or delivering powerhouse performances in indie films like Green Room and Like Crazy, he had a career that was only getting started. But on June 19, 2016, at just 27 years old, a freak accident ended it all. Outside his Los Angeles home, Yelchin was found pinned between his Jeep Grand Cherokee and a brick pillar, the victim of a rollaway vehicle malfunction. The tragic incident shocked Hollywood, with co-stars and directors alike mourning the loss of a brilliant actor with limitless potential. In a cruel twist of fate, his final performances were released posthumously, each one a haunting reminder of the future that could have been. Gone too soon but never forgotten, Yelchin's impact lives on in the unforgettable roles he left behind. Carole Lombard was Hollywood's queen of screwball comedy, a dazzling beauty with impeccable comedic timing. With an Oscar nomination for My Man Godfrey and standout performances in 20th Century, she had solidified herself as one of the most beloved actresses of her time. But on January 16, 1942, at just 33 years old, her story ended in a way that felt almost too tragic for even a Hollywood script. Lombard had just finished a war bond rally in Indiana, passionately supporting the U.S. war effort. Determined to return home quickly, she ignored warnings and boarded a plane bound for Los Angeles. Fate had other plans. Just outside Las Vegas, Nevada, the plane crashed into Mount Potosi, killing Lombard, her mother, and 20 others. The loss devastated the nation, but no one felt it more than her husband, Clark Gable, who was never the same after her passing. Her death became a somber chapter in America's wartime history, but her legacy as a comedic genius, a patriotic icon, and a true star of Hollywood's golden age shines on. Whitney Houston wasn't just a singer. She was the voice, a powerhouse, a trailblazer, a once-in-a-lifetime talent who could turn a song into an experience. From gospel choirs to global superstardom, her journey was filled with soaring highs and heartbreaking lows. But on February 11, 2012, at just 48 years old, her story came to a devastating end. That night, Houston was found unresponsive in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, just hours before Clive Davis's pre-Grammy party, an event she had once ruled. The official cause? Drowning, brought on by heart disease and cocaine use. It was a tragic final chapter for a woman whose battles with substance abuse had long played out in the public eye. But Whitney Houston's legacy is untouchable. From I Will Always Love You, a song that became an anthem, to 6 Grammys, 2 Emmys, and countless chart-topping hits, she redefined music. Her voice, raw and unmatched, still inspires generations of artists today. Bruce Lee, the martial arts icon who brought Kung Fu to the world stage, died suddenly on July 20th, 1973, at just 32 years old. His death wasn't just shocking, it was downright puzzling. How could a man in peak physical condition collapse without warning? That day, Lee was set to meet James Bond star George Lazenby to discuss a new film project. Instead, he was found unresponsive after reportedly taking a painkiller for a headache. Rushed to the hospital, doctors discovered severe cerebral edema. His brain had swollen from 1,400 to 1,575 grams, an alarming increase. Despite medical intervention, it was too late. But here's where things get eerie. Lee's death sparked countless theories, from allergic reactions to heat stroke to darker conspiracy whispers involving secret societies or a martial arts curse. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. His impact on cinema, martial arts, and pop culture remains unmatched. Do you think there's more to Bruce Lee's death than meets the eye? Chadwick Boseman wasn't just an actor, he was a warrior. While the world saw him as T'Challa, the fearless king of Wakanda behind the scenes, he was fighting a battle no one knew about. Diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2016, Boseman pushed through chemotherapy, surgeries, and relentless treatments, all while delivering some of the most powerful performances of his career. From Da 5 Bloods to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, he poured everything he had into his work, never letting the world see his pain. Even as his illness progressed to stage 4, he kept his battle private, proving that his strength went far beyond the screen. His portrayal of T'Challa wasn't just acting, it was a symbol of resilience, black excellence, and an unshakable spirit. On August 28, 2020, at just 43 years old, Boseman took his final bow, leaving behind a legacy that transcends cinema. He didn't just play heroes, he was one. Wakanda forever. What's your favorite Chadwick Boseman moment? Let's honor his legacy together. James Dean didn't just act, he embodied rebellion. With his smoldering stare and effortless cool, he was on the verge of superstardom when, on September 30th, 1955, fate took a cruel turn. Behind the wheel of his Porsche 550 Spider, nicknamed Little Bastard, Dean was en route to a race in Salinas when he collided with another car at a California intersection. He was just 24 years old. The timing was almost eerie. His career had barely begun, yet he had already delivered a performance in East of Eden that captivated audiences. His death came just before the release of Rebel Without a Cause and Giant, two films that would posthumously immortalize him as Hollywood's ultimate symbol of youth, angst, and rebellion. Dean's wrecked Porsche later toured the country as a traffic safety warning, but instead of fading into a cautionary tale, he became legendary. His face, his style, his untamed energy, they all remain frozen in time, a haunting reminder of what could have been. Marilyn Monroe, Hollywood's golden girl, the ultimate bombshell, a symbol of beauty, charm, and old Hollywood glamour, her untimely death at just 36 sent shockwaves through the world. On August 5th, 1962, Monroe was found lifeless in her Brentwood home, the official cause, acute barbiturate poisoning. But was it really suicide, or something far more sinister? For decades, whispers of foul play have surrounded her death, rumors of secret affairs, political entanglements, and a cover-up that still fuels speculation today. Monroe's life was a paradox, adored by millions yet deeply lonely, draped in diamonds yet haunted by demons. And while the truth behind her final moments may never be known, one thing is certain. Marilyn Monroe didn't just fade away. She became immortal. What do you think? Was it tragedy, conspiracy, or something even darker? Jayne Mansfield wasn't just a bombshell. She was blonde, bold, and built for Hollywood. With her hourglass figure, platinum blonde locks, and a flair for headline-grabbing stunts, she carved out a space in Hollywood that was uniquely her own. But on June 29, 1967, her story took a devastating turn. While en route to a TV interview in New Orleans, Mansfield's car collided with a tractor trailer, a crash so brutal it sent shockwaves through the industry. She, along with her driver and boyfriend, didn't survive. Miraculously, 3 of her children, including future Law & Order SVU star Mariska Hargitay, were in the back seat and lived. Mansfield was just 34. Her death was so gruesome that it led to a lasting change in road safety. The very reason semi-trucks now have under-ride bars. But more than that, it left a haunting reminder of how quickly fame, beauty, and life itself can be taken away. Paul Walker, the heart of the Fast and the Furious franchise, met a tragic and untimely death on November 30th, 2013, in a fiery car crash that shocked Hollywood and devastated fans worldwide. Walker, known for his love of speed both on and off screen, was attending a charity event for Reach Out Worldwide, his disaster relief nonprofit, when he and his friend Roger Rodas took a Porsche Carrera GT for a drive. Mere moments later, the car lost control, crashed, and exploded in flames, killing both men instantly. The irony? The event was meant to help victims of a typhoon. Yet that day, tragedy struck much closer to home. At just 40, Walker's death wasn't just a loss for his family and friends. It left a massive void in the Fast and the Furious franchise, leading to emotional rewrites of Furious 7 and a farewell scene that had fans in tears. A decade later, his impact is still felt, his legacy still racing forward. River Phoenix wasn't just a rising star, he was the star of his generation. A prodigy with a rare mix of talent, depth, and sensitivity, he seemed destined for cinematic greatness. But on October 31st, 1993, at just 23 years old, his story took a devastating turn. Outside the Viper Room, the Hollywood nightclub partly owned by Johnny Depp, Phoenix collapsed from a fatal drug overdose, right in front of his younger brother, Joaquin Phoenix. The loss was shocking, sudden, and heartbreaking. This was the actor who had delivered unforgettable performances in Stand By Me, My Own Private Idaho, and Running on Empty. He was hailed as the next Brando, the next Dean, a talent so raw and powerful it was almost otherworldly. And just like that, he was gone. Years later, Joaquin Phoenix honored his brother in the most touching way possible, naming his son River, ensuring his name and spirit would never fade. Though his career was tragically short, River Phoenix remains a legend, a what could have been that Hollywood will never stop mourning. Anne Hathaway was no stranger to the spotlight, or the chaos that often came with it. A fearless actress known for her roles in Donnie Brasco and 6 Days, 7 Nights, she lived a life that was as bold as the characters she portrayed. But on August 5th, 2022, a series of disturbing events set the stage for a tragedy that left Hollywood reeling. That day, Hathaway was involved in multiple hit-and-run accidents before her car slammed into a Los Angeles home, erupting into flames. She was pulled from the wreckage but suffered severe burns and an anoxic brain injury, leaving her in a coma. Toxicology reports later revealed the presence of cocaine and fentanyl, complicating the narrative of what had really happened in her final hours. Beyond the headlines, Hathaway's struggles with mental health and past trauma had been an open chapter in her life. Her death at 53 wasn't just the end of a tumultuous life. It was a stark reminder of the pressures, pain, and relentless scrutiny faced by public figures. Sharon Tate was the rising star of the 1960s, radiant, talented, and on the brink of superstardom. With roles in Valley of the Dolls and the Beverly Hillbillies, she had already captivated Hollywood, but her greatest role was yet to come. Married to acclaimed director Roman Polanski and 8.5 months pregnant, her life seemed like a fairy tale. But on August 9, 1969, that fairy tale became a horror story. That night, 3 followers of Charles Manson broke into her Los Angeles home and brutally murdered Tate and 4 others in a crime so shocking it shattered the innocence of the era. The Manson murders didn't just take Sharon Tate's life. They marked the symbolic end of the free-spirited 1960s, replacing its idealism with fear and paranoia. She was just 26 years old. Her family has since fought to keep her memory alive, advocating for victims' rights and ensuring she's remembered not just for how she died, but for the talent and warmth she brought to Hollywood. Cory Monteith was more than just the lovable Finn Hudson on Glee. He was a real-life comeback story, a talent who rose above early struggles to capture the hearts of millions. But on July 13, 2013, tragedy struck. At just 31 years old, Monteith was found lifeless in a Vancouver hotel room, the victim of an accidental overdose. Monteith had battled substance abuse since his teens, a struggle he was open about. Earlier that year, he had even checked himself into rehab, determined to fight his demons. But addiction doesn't let go easily, and despite his efforts, his final relapse proved fatal. The loss devastated his Glee castmates, fans, and most heartbreakingly, his longtime girlfriend and co-star, Lea Michele. His tragic parallel to Finn Hudson's struggles only deepened the impact of his death. Glee honored him in the emotional tribute episode The Quarterback, reminding the world that Monteith was more than just a star. He was a fighter, a friend, and a talent gone far too soon. Kelly Preston was the kind of actress who lit up every scene she was in, from the feisty Avery Bishop in Jerry Maguire to the lovable Marnie Mason in Twins. But behind the Hollywood smiles and effortless charm, she was fighting a battle no one knew about. On July 12, 2020, at just 57 years old, Preston passed away after a private 2-year battle with breast cancer, a fight she chose to keep away from the public eye. Her husband, John Travolta, broke the heartbreaking news, praising her strength, courage, and unwavering love. Beyond her impressive filmography, which included Space Camp and For Love of the Game, she was best known for her devotion to family and her work in charitable causes. She wasn't just a Hollywood star, she was a mother, a wife, a fighter. Her passing was a devastating loss, but her legacy of grace, resilience, and warmth remains. Kelly Preston may be gone, but the impact she left, both on and off screen, will never fade. Cameron Boyce was more than just a Disney Channel star. He was a beacon of talent, kindness, and purpose. From Jesse to The Descendants, he won over audiences with his infectious charm, quick wit, and undeniable talent. But on July 6, 2019, at just 20 years old, his life was tragically cut short when he suffered a fatal seizure in his sleep, a result of epilepsy. His sudden passing left Hollywood, his co-stars, and his fans devastated, but his impact went far beyond the screen. Boyce was deeply involved in philanthropic work, using his platform to support causes like clean water initiatives, ending gun violence, and epilepsy awareness. His death shed light on the dangers of epilepsy, sparking important conversations and efforts toward more research and awareness. Though his time was short, Cameron Boyce's legacy is anything but small. He left behind a world that he had already begun to change for the better, a testament to his passion, heart, and unwavering commitment to making a difference. Brittany Murphy was the kind of actress who could do it all, from her breakout role as Ty in Clueless, to dramatic performances in 8 Mile and Girl Interrupted, to even voice acting as Luann Platter in King of the Hill. She had a spark, a charm, an energy that made her unforgettable. But on December 20th, 2009, at just 32 years old, that spark was extinguished under deeply mysterious circumstances. Murphy was found unresponsive in her Los Angeles home, and her death was officially ruled as pneumonia, complicated by iron deficiency anemia and multiple drug intoxication. A tragedy, yes, but what made it even more bizarre was what happened next. Just 5 months later, her husband, Simon Monjack, died in the same house from the exact same causes. The eerie similarities sparked endless speculation. Was it mold poisoning? Foul play? Something even more sinister? To this day, theories swirl. But one thing remains certain. Hollywood lost a talent who had so much more to give. Brittany Murphy's warmth, humor, and versatility are still deeply missed.